X, just let me know. It that too. Okay. Orchard. Not that much. I was waiting for someone to fix the build. Zoltan did. We broke it with a PR from Thursday. So deployment stuff. George commented out to get the build working. Okay, from George himself. Okay, that's the deployment feature. Identity part to ShapeMenuItem. This was a pull request. I checked and all the menu items have the identity part. This one didn't have, so we fixed it. Don't cache pages when status code is changed in the view. Yeah, so the idea if the view itself fails or changes the response, then we, well, to something else than 200, we don't want to cache it either because the action might also return something different than 200 and we don't cache it. Fixed localized attributes culture. I will trust the PR. So I don't know many people using this feature, localized attributes, for the local. Well, yeah, the localized data attributes, so that when there is a validation on the model binding, it can be localized. So there is range attribute, there is a regex attribute, and all these ones have messages. So we made localized ones, like 5 years ago. I did null check for the shape written by a field driver, which could lead to a null ref. So there is a null check now. This update form name invalidation of decision activity, there was a wrong name used, so the validation was never executed. 6 fixed. Null reference exception also here on the string filter for the projections. Fixing PostgreSQL, the idea being that some of the transactions were not supported in Postgre. There was a fix, but it broke some other scenarios. So now the ultimate fix is to check explicitly if the current driver is PostgreSQL and then do a different kind of transaction. This is not beautiful, but it works and fixes all the issues. This one from the people who don't know how to rebase. Implementing configurable password policies. Yes, it was a PR and asked for feedback. So it requires a demo.
I could do that on Thursday probably.
Okay, or next week if you want. But yeah, the idea is that now you can configure password limits, like number of chars, do you need numbers, do you need special chars, and things like this. And also the minimum numbers of characters, I already said that. So that's good.
Oh,
this is to fix the build. Yep.
If somebody thinks that they know something about IT security, please check it out, because I'm not entirely sure about it being totally valid from a security standpoint.
Well, I just checked if it was not breaking anything, and that was fine. So it's not adding any issue. It's just adding new features to check the password, so that was fine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Something that has been asked is, maybe because of the momentum you have now on this feature, to be able to define the number of failed logins. So you could lock an account, like disable it after a specific number of failed logins in a row.
Yeah, that would be also a good idea, the separate feature, I think. But we could add that later as well.
Okay.
Although I'm not sure. Actually, with Orchard 2 and external identity providers.
In Orchard 2, it's already implemented because it's part of the default .NET Core identity.
I see. Oh, cool.
So it's already there. You can't configure it right now. because I didn't expose the configuration, but it's implemented. So it's just about configuring it with your app or your tenant. Fixing build error, so the build, you fixed it and you merged your PR. Yeah, that's the rebase. Yep. Or you didn't use the PR, the merge button of the pull request?
No, the PR is not merged yet. So I've.
Oh, it's still a branch. Okay. Oh, I see. It's still a branch. That's why you said please review it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Good. Commit. Nope. Okay. Questions about these changes? This. Hello. I'm the only. No, Sultan. Sipke, Nick, Bertrand is on vacation. Okay. Orchard 1, Orchard 2, Orchard 2. Orchard 2, this, what is that? Yes, this is what I worked on. I will show you. So I worked on oh, there is also before. So what's up? 7 days fixing. This is Nick on the recipes branch. So still working on that. Cleaner code for lazy initialization of assembly names. So Jean-Thierry doing some refactorings past week on his code about dynamic compilation, improving it. This and there. Okay, and while he was working on that, I worked on the resource management project, not module, project. I call it resource management because we already had a module called Orchard.ResourceManagement. Resource management is the resource manager, and I ported it to Orchard 2, refactored, changed some methods, added some tag helpers, and I will show you how it looks like. I opened it, so not this one. Branch, I mean a placement branch, but that's fine. So the module, not the module, project. So this is the project, resource management and resource management abstractions. The idea being that you just reference this one and you get the interfaces and the DTOs. You don't need the services to be referenced. What's new? There is still iResource Manager, like in Orchard 1. I added the comments and the methods, so we know what it does. I changed some names based on my feeling when I thought it was not very meaningful what we were doing, like script.require or script.include. Some of them are still the same, but I made them more explicit. Oh. Can you still hear me? Because my screen is frozen.
Yes.
VS is nagging you. You just can't leave your ID on its own. So new things in this interface. So inline manifest. You remember 2 weeks ago we talked about inline definitions? Like someone knew about it, and it was a new thing for us. What is this thing, inline definition? So I looked at the code and now I understand what it does. I renamed it inline manifest because it's a manifest like the resource manifest, okay? Like the resource manifest that you can create in every module, but that you don't need a class for that. You can, from a view, define a new resource and all its properties, not from a manifest class, but directly there. So from the resource manager, you can do .inline manifest, which will create a resource manifest, a local one, and then you can say define script, define style, and define the CDN properties and everything. So it's called now inline manifest, and I will show you how it's used. I have an example. Then this one is it was already there, returns the resource matching a specific setting. So to find and define resource from the manifests, either dynamic ones or inline one. Not required to say that one resource is not required, in case you said required before. Include to include a specific URL in the request. Register URL, register resource. This is to define existing. So include registers a specific resource URL, register the custom URL. I have to check for the difference. I don't remember. That's bad. Maybe it's the same thing. I forgot to rename. I will check. Register resource is based on the type, the resource type like script style and the resource name like jQuery. Register head script, register foot script is to add a custom script, an inline script like document.writeLine as some string, in this case HTML content. Register link to add a new link entry to the list, a new meta entry, a meta tag, to edit or append something to an existing meta tag. Get register links. So these ones are to render what has been registered. So give me the links, give me the meta, give me the scripts for the head, give me the scripts for the foot. Render meta is to, so this is to get a list of meta entry, and render is to generate HTML. Okay, like the tags. Render all the meta tags, render all the head links, and so on. So they are related to get, but they also write the content directly. So this is the updated interface. End. iResource manifest is the same. Manifest builder. Manifest state is new. The goal was to make iResource manager not a singleton, but iResource manifest state is a singleton. There was an issue with that. And how to use that? So this is the interfaces, and I also made some tag helpers, and these are the ones that we will use inside the views I will show you. From a filter or a middleware, we'll use the API if we want to inject stuff from code, but from views, we'll use the tag helpers. We can also use the API, but it's better to use the tag helpers. So here is some examples. First, the theme. I updated this one, so in the layout, like in Orchard 1, but kind of different. So this is the layout, okay, where we render the sections, which are actually zones for us, header and so on. And you will see that here there is the first tag helper. So meta chart set UTF-8. This is a standard HTML tag, so it will be rendered as is. This one also, but this one, this script has ASP-name, and this is a marker that will trigger the fact that this thing is a tag helper. So it says include the script name Bootstrap. It's equivalent to script.require in Orchard 1. Then use CDN true or false at foot or head. So the script Bootstrap will be included at the footer and all its dependencies. Okay, and if we go into the resources module, which already defines Bootstrap and jQuery, we have a resource manifest, like in Orchard 1, which says jQuery set CDN. So this is very simple. It's just to test the feature. Bootstrap depends on jQuery, defines this URL, defines this URL for the CDN, and also supports CDN integrity. This is a new feature in browsers. You can define a hash for the CDN resources so that when it gets the value, it will ensure that the checksum is valid. Okay. Define style, like in Orchard 1, same thing, set integrity, define style, another one, and that's good. So when we say ASP Bootstrap, it will include this URL and also jQuery in the footer. Then style, because we have ASP name, it will look for Bootstrap and Bootstrap theme from the manifest. Here, because here it's ASP SRC, it will include this file directly. Okay, not look for a register resource. It will say, okay, let's register this file as a style sheet. And then these are for the layouts. It will probably change, but right now it's resources, and you say what you want to render. So here I say in the layout, render all the meta tags, then render all the link tags for the head part, render all the style sheet resources, and render all the scripts for the head. Okay, and at the end of the layout file, we have same thing but for the foot scripts. Okay, this is how you render the resources in your layout. And actually there is now a shortcut that I didn't use, which is, let me see. There is a one type which is like head, where you can register everything which has to be in the header. Okay, it's just a shortcut to that. It's easier. So that's how it's rendered on the layout. And then in a view, I have an example, in a view or in any shape template or anything that renders during the request. Where is that? Demo. I have all the examples that you can imagine. So how to hide the meta tags from a view? It's ASP-name instead of meta name. ASP-name, you give it a name, and you can add content. And because you give the same name, it will, by default, it will append the content with a custom separator. So by default, it will be comma space, but you can also say content dash separator and then define the separator that you want to use to append stuff. IntelliSense doesn't work here, but it's there. I can show you. Then inline definitions of resource and dependencies. So this is using the inline manifest. So script ASP name and ASP SRC. So if you provide a name and a source, then it will define a new resource. Base is this URL, and for debug, it's this URL. Same thing for foo, and you can also define the dependencies. Okay. I don't have any example of scenario of usage right now for the inline dependencies, but someone might come with one. So this is to define a new resource, just defining resources. Then if you want to inject it, you say script ASP name foo add head. Like on the layout for Bootstrap, ASP name add somewhere, you say you want to include foo, which was declared just before, and depends on base. Now how to inject a custom script URL, it's just by using ASP-SRC, not ASP name. Then you define, I want to inject this thing. And in debug, I want to inject this thing. And you can add where you want to inject it. And optionally, custom attributes that will be forwarded to the output. Same thing here with conditions. So it also supports conditions like in Orchard 1, not IE, for instance, or IE equals 7. Inject custom style sheets, meaning custom URL for style sheets. So it's the style tag, ASP-SRC and debug. So the same thing as the script with ASP-SRC. And if you want to add custom link tags, it's link ASP-SRC, still, rel type, and it will be injected in the resource manager. Adding custom script add. So you don't say ASP-SRC or ASP name, you just write some content and where you want to place it, and it will be injected into a script tag automatically in the correct location with the type JavaScript and everything. That's how you use it, and I will run it just for fun.
By the way, do you also have IntelliSense for these?
Yes, it doesn't work on my machine, but because it's a tag helper and and the class tag helper, like not something which is dynamic, like script tag helper, you get all the properties which appear automatically, and you, or maybe because I forgot to define the description, that's probably the reason actually. maybe that's because of that. But they are defined, so there should be. So for instance, when you say .at, you will get the drop-down with a different resource location, which will be foot head. Okay. Yeah, we just need to add documentation, I assume, and it will appear. That should work. I have some examples actually in demo project because I made the documentation for one of the dynamic tag helpers. Shapes, where is that? Baz tag helper. Yep. Maybe if we just do that. Let's see. So this is a strict script tag helper. Okay, so I save it, and ideally, if I go there and reopen index, ASP.src, there should be something somewhere. But yeah, there will be IntelliSense. It will help. So slash. It's compiling everything, copying all the binaries to the app dependencies. Compiling the views too. So that's not slow. And it's in debug mode. So, but it's slow. And it doesn't work. Should I just stop it? Running, and the home page is just a 404. There is no route associated to that. Okay, now it started. 5. Maybe I broke something. No, it works. You see some script because I injected custom script, and if I say view source, you see that bar bars are concatenated because in the index here I said inject bar bars. In the foo, you say content bar bars name foo. A feed, which is then a custom link somewhere. Yes, this one, custom link with custom URL. It's rendered. A CSS bar.css, the custom one. It's in debug mode. Okay, because I'm debugging, by default it's using a development environment, but if I'm doing it in release, it will use a production one. And this is the default configuration, and let me show you how it's handled. I will show you later. This is the Bootstrap thing with the integrity attribute, and you see all the scripts that have been registered, and at the footer we should see Bootstrap, the script, and not the style, which was at the top, and jQuery, which was a dependency for Bootstrap. And because we also had a condition for bottom.js, it's in the condition tags, And yes, we can see that in the layout, we required Bootstrap at the footer. And if I say head, I save F5, and now Bootstrap is at the top, and so is jQuery. So that works. Okay, and you can even say use CDN false, and then F5, it should use the local version and not the CDN version. Okay, so that works perfectly. Yep. So one thing I wanted to mention is that these packages, they are not linked to Orchard at all. So you can use them completely into ASP.NET MVC. And the way I did that is there is I require settings provider where you can get the default settings, and the default implementation is here, default require settings provider. So this is how, and by the way, when we say add resource management, it will register all the resources which are necessary and the default require settings provider as a try add scoped, which means by default, if you use it from MVC, it will look for the debug mode based on the environment. It will also check the CDN mode based on the environment. This has to be filled. And for Orchard, what we'll do is on get default, instead of returning this thing, we'll get the value from the site settings and return a require settings that is taken from the site settings. Okay. And so this way, when we do add resource management from Orchard, we can also add a custom service for the configuration settings, which will be taken from. And this thing doesn't require Orchard at all. You see, so it's reusable in any MVC app. So I'm looking at how make it either external to Orchard or let people point to that if they want a resource script manager. That's it. Questions? Do you like the new tag helpers compared to the API in Orchard 1?
I think it's better, yeah. Will the always also be available to migration?
Sorry, what? The always you mean?
Yeah, like script.require.
Yep. So what you do is var resource manager equals context dot services dot get required service, and you can say I resource manager. Okay. It's not in the base page because now we have tag helpers, but you can still do that, and then resource manager dot and require jQuery. So you can still do that. The API is still available.
I think it wouldn't hurt to have these actual properties still there. Yeah. Because we could just add. Yeah. Still a lot to do to migrate modules to Orchard 2. So
it's debatable if we want to add things just to make migration easier, because in the end this thing is much better. So maybe the migration should be, if you have resources, please use the tag helpers. It's not a lot of work. And or you can also just add the line but actually the method name have changed, so we could also say let's keep the old method names. So the method name have changed, so we'll still have to change some stuff.
I think if in the documentation you can give some examples of the old way and then the new way. I think that would be But then if it's documentation.
No, I mean, if it's a migration documentation, sure. But if it's the new documentation to show what it was in the old thing, I'm like...
No, that's what I'm talking about. It's in migration.
Okay. Yep, yeah, sure. This thing for sure. Yeah, but I think that it looks like HTML. People might not be scared by that anymore. Makes more sense. And hopefully it will be used by more than Orchard, so we'll get much more users. Yep. I just wanted to show you, for those who don't understand what's the difference. We must have some in the main theme. You see, set meta, now this is a tag. Style.include, this is a tag. So this is easier to read. Well, it depends. You might think this thing is easier to read. Are there any view components? No, because we have shapes and drivers, which are 100 times better than view components. View components is like a shape and a driver without being able to edit it. So we kind of have that, but better. Shapes are better, and we have dynamic template matching, so we can have alternates and everything. So we don't need view components. We even looked at how we can reuse view components to do shapes, but they are too limited. And yeah, so it's better. Shapes are better than view components. Okay. Questions? Okay. So this is, so yeah, this works, it's done. Now we might work on the resources module to add the resources we want. I have one question though, something I didn't understand from Orchard 1. Let me show you. Orchard Web, modules, Orchard.Resources, Orchard.Resources, and if I look at jQuery, yep. What is that? SetVersion 2.1.4. What does it mean? And why do we need that, and what is it used for?
It allows you to make resources feature switchable. So if you had this definition as version 2.1.4, and then another resource manifest provider declared jQuery again, with a higher version, if that resource manifest provider was enabled, it would pick the higher version.
This is what I found out too. Like when we require jQuery, it will order by version and get the latest one. That's the only thing, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about how we could use that actually, more than just getting the latest one. Because the conflict I have is jQuery is jQuery. So let's say you have version 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, I have a better example. Because I have an actual issue with that I would like it to solve. Bootstrap. Okay. Currently in Orchard 2, I use Bootstrap 3 for the front end, and I use Bootstrap 4 as an exercise on the back end. And I wanted it to be fixed by this version. But what I do in my example, I did require Bootstrap. What I'd like to be able to do is require Bootstrap version 3 or greater, or version 3, and require Bootstrap version 4, even if here it's actually version 3.3.1, I don't know, and this one is 4-alpha, I don't know, I have no idea. Okay. Like, but be able to have two major versions of the same library living in manifest. And then when I do require, I could say which one I want. So I looked at the set version, but yeah, it doesn't solve anything, because if here I say set version, and somewhere else I do also .set version, because I have the same name Bootstrap, then as you said, if I do require, it will get the latest version, so it will give me the 4 all the time. So I was like, then, okay, what's the point of set version? But now I get what you mean. So if we have two manifests, there will be a winner with that. Otherwise, there could be some indeterministic results, like one request will get the first one, the second request will get the second one, and so on. Or if I restart, I don't know. So this is better for to be deterministic. I get it. What I was thinking, so okay, so maybe we should not change anything. The solution to this issue that I think could be a solution would be to actually have resources named, if we have the issue, Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 4. So this way I can say require Bootstrap 3, and then there can be some scripts and it will evolve like this, and a script called Bootstrap 4, and it will also evolve with its own version, like 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. And someone is writing, I don't want to miss anything. It was a test question. Different resources, so that maybe do it this way. But so yeah, look at that. So this is not the full proposal. So require Bootstrap 3, require Bootstrap 4, but also we could say define Bootstrap dot set dependency, and we could say Bootstrap, for instance, 4, okay, or 3, whatever we want. This way we can, if we want to use Bootstrap, if we don't care about the version, we always want the greatest version, but if we depend on the specific major version, we can just say, no, I need Bootstrap 3 or I need Bootstrap 4. This way, our libraries, maybe you could say, I just require Bootstrap, and if one day we decide to bump to Bootstrap 4, then Bootstrap will be, the default Bootstrap will be Bootstrap 4. So that will solve, I think, the issues with major and minor. And we could do the same thing with jQuery, actually. We can say jQuery 1, we can say jQuery 2, officially use jQuery, which will depend right now on jQuery 1, but if one day we want to make jQuery depends on jQuery 2, all the references to jQuery, because it don't care about which version, will be bumped to 2. So, yeah, but this means that the version now, when we set the version, when we require a version, we need to check the actual version and the major one. That's fine, but it will just be at the major, or should we have a prefix like 3.3, whatever, like require Bootstrap, and then like 3.star or 3.3.star. We could do something like this, and then it will take the latest based on the prefix match. So not the latest of any version, but based on the prefix match. It could be also optional. So if we do Bootstrap, yeah, that could be a solution. Looks cleaner, it's just more code. With this solution, there is nothing to implement more than what we have today. It's already supported. This is more flexible, and if you don't say anything, then you get the latest, like 4 in this case. And if you say something, then you get which version you have. That might be good. And will we be able to define the 2 jQueries then? Like, can we do as Chris says, that we can do a set version and we can do 1 something, and also later, well, in the same file, then set version 2 something. I like to see if it works. Might work. What do people think? Something like this?
I think my concern with that, with what you've got on line 16, would be that you'd open yourself up to having multiple instances of essentially the same resource, but in a different version. So if you had a view that required Bootstrap 3 and a view that required Bootstrap 4, how would you handle that?
I see. But yeah, same thing here.
Yes, but if you had, let's say you had two layout elements and one required Bootstrap 3 and the other required Bootstrap 4,
yeah, but
which version of Bootstrap would you put on the page?
Okay, yeah, but this is not to solve this issue. Then you have an issue and you should not have defined a specific version. My concern was I have two themes. One needs Bootstrap 3, one needs Bootstrap 4. Or I have two pages. One needs jQuery 1, the other jQuery 2. If you have a module which is incompatible with your page, then you have an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't give you flexibility and power. I think it will be quite useful. It's just...
It can happen, yeah, there can be issues also, yeah. Because you have more flexibility, there can be flexibility issues.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So you should not use... That's why I'm saying maybe we should just use require Bootstrap most of the time, or require jQuery, and let the framework decide which version it is. Because if you define exactly which version you want, it's because you know you need this version and not more. That you should not use it by default. You should not say no, I want version 3 because maybe no, because why are you stating 3? You don't care actually. It could be 4. It will not matter for you.
Would you add in? I'm just thinking along the lines of when you create a new spec file. You can specify dependencies, so you can say a dependency needs to be between version 1 and 3 or greater than 2. Would you want to add that kind of flexibility in?
I'm not sure.
Because that's when it starts getting complicated.
Yeah, and George says, generally speaking, most sites only use one version of Bootstrap. Yep. Yeah, so yeah, even if you have the flexibility of this thing, you should not specify it unless you really need that. In my case, it's for a theme, so one site uses one theme or the full theme at a time, so you just say jQuery, and then, then there is an issue. Let's say you have a widget which says, I need jQuery. Okay, and your theme, like meaning when it says jQuery, it means, I don't care, I need jQuery. But your theme says, I need jQuery 1. So if you don't care, why would you get jQuery 2 if someone already requires jQuery 1? In this case, I think that will be fine. In this case, if there are two conflicting versions which are required, the resource manager will just output one version. Which version it uses is based on what we want. Like if one says jQuery and it returns 2 and the other says jQuery 1, we might, I don't know. Yeah, we could be able to, if one is specified explicitly, we could be able to use the specific one.
I think so long as the rules are well defined and people know how it will behave, I don't think that's much of an issue. But yeah, I think if view A just says jQuery and view B says jQuery 1, you kind of want to go for the most specific one. So you'd render jQuery 1 on that page.
But with this thing, with this logic here, you can't know which one to render, because for it, it's two different scripts. Because jQuery doesn't have no SRC, okay? It's just a dependency. If you say include jQuery, it will include the resource name jQuery 2. And then if someone says, I need jQuery 1, it will also include jQuery 1, because for it doesn't have any relationship between jQuery 2 and jQuery 1. The only way to provide a relationship between the two is to provide to use the same name and provide version things, and then require stuff. So yeah, maybe I think the best solution is to do this thing. If you need a specific version, to do require, because if one says require Bootstrap doesn't say anything.
I'm not sure Bootstrap's the best example, but something like jQuery. Yeah.
So if I say jQuery, and here I say jQuery but 1, okay. So if you have the 3 of them here, because they use the same resource name, we can disambiguate and say, okay, we choose 2, okay, because this is the biggest one that was specified. And there will be only one rendered, which is 2.
See, I would argue that it shouldn't behave like that.
That's it, we should do that to what then?
So in that example there, if you had line 15, 16, and 17, I would argue that that should throw an exception.
Okay, that's also fine. Like there is a conflict, I can't, yeah, that's also fine. So you have to decide what you want.
Yeah, that was what I was about to say, that when you have something like that, the resource manager should throw an exception. I like the idea.
I will say, wait. I will say that, yeah, it depends on the combination, because we suggest that everyone use require jQuery, so you get what
I agree.
the latest version is. But if someone also says, I want 2 point star, if it's compatible, we get the latest. Okay, if there is no incompatibility, like if I get that and that, let's say jQuery today is actually 2.1. Okay, the jQuery set version is we have a 2.1, and you say jQuery, and you also say jQuery 2 point star somewhere else. It's not incompatible. Yes, you'll get 2.1. So no exception. But if you say this new couple here, jQuery, which by default is 2.1, but you say jQuery 1 point star, then there is an exception. Nope, yes. Incompatible versions.
Yeah, because it's impossible to resolve which version to use.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if you declared jQuery, if you declared version 1.7 and jQuery 2.1 in 2 different resource manifests, then line 24 and 25 should be okay.
Wait, what do you say? This, jQuery 1.7 and jQuery 2.
So if you had defined jQuery twice, so if you defined 1.7 and 2.1.
Define, okay, yep.
And then you just said require jQuery.
Yep.
And then require jQuery 1 point star, that would be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you say require jQuery, that's fine. If you if you say require jQuery and you say 1 point star, what you mean is that they're okay. Oh, so what we say is that if you say jQuery whatever version and jQuery nothing, it means you don't care, so I will give you 1.7.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you say is that this thing, if it's actually 2.1 by default, the latest is, or greatest, you say 1.7 or 1 point star. Okay. So the greatest we have is not the one you want.
Not in that instance, because on line 24 you say that you want 1 point star, but your resource manifest has only declared 2.1.
Oh.
So
no, it doesn't work.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is if you declared jQuery twice, so declared jQuery as 1.7 and jQuery as 2.1.
Yeah, but so okay.
It should be able to resolve either.
jQuery set version 1.7, and we also have a jQuery set version 2.1. Okay, we have the two. Okay, we have the two, like you said. Then what is the scenario?
So then in that instance, on line 27 and 28, that would resolve to version 1.7.
I agree.
Because line 27 says, I want jQuery, but I don't care which version. And line 28 says, I want jQuery, but I need 1.x.
Okay. That can be bad. You had a widget and all your scripts are. But what else otherwise? Otherwise you will get an exception. That's not.
Yeah. But that's why you need a set of well-defined rules.
Rules, and also ensure that people don't abuse that. Like this thing should not be in a widget. The widget should just say jQuery. It should be the layout which defines which version it will actually use for everyone, like being the authority. Because when you start using a version, then you are the authority of which version to use.
I agree.
Okay, but I think we have something which is good. We should always use require jQuery like we do today, but we will support another parameter which is a version you prefer, and based on all available ones in the manifest, we'll give you the different. And jQuery is a very typical example because bumping from 1 to 2 has some impact, but not maybe into your code, so it's still compatible. Bootstrap is another kind of example. At some point there will be a switch, Angular and some things. They are different scripts, but yeah, we don't want to call them Angular 1, Angular 2. Well, we can, but... So I like this proposal. And to throw an exception if there is a conflict, like no. Which will never happen because you should always use jQuery like today. Okay, did I miss something in the discussion? I think jQuery, yes. Yeah, so you must know better. Hi, Steve. Oh, Steve. Okay, sorry, I forgot. You let me check first. Let me check first. Yeah, good examples here. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So Steve updated his template for the website based on last week's feedback, taking all the best from everyone. So this is the new page. This is hiding the top, but yeah, that's good. So with the more squared menu, the main page will stop here, and then you go down. So try Orchard directly and the links. Then you go down. What do other things? It looks weird here. That's weird, but why not? Who's using Orchard? This is better. Why not have the quotes under the? I don't know. Because that will be a page. This part will be like a section. That's a weird section. This is the main features. What's the difference between?
It's just highlighting some of the key ones, whichever ones we want to push a little bit more.
And this one?
Yeah. Originally I had a big list of all of the features, but I think it was a bit too much. Could combine those two two sections into one.
Yeah.
And define it a little bit.
You could even have like a scroll or something like changes the. If you have these things as placeholders, the other content could take place of the placeholders, maybe just to have one screen.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's what to have the same section repeated. It's kind of the section. And then try Orchard, download source code. Okay, that looks good.
I'll do an inner page template next, and then I might come back to this and just give it a few more tweaks. Yeah, I think the testimonials section looks a bit weird. I agree with that. So let me do another one, like the inner page templates, and then I'll revisit that based on that one and just do another tweak.
Good. Look at that. Wow, this looks awesome. I almost see the comments and the.
I just caught the end of the last conversation. Sorry, in terms of including jQuery and things like that. Do people use the Orchard way of including client scripts? Because I think most people use sort of client-side build scripts now and things like that, like gulp or grunt.
Oh yeah, but we still need to define the scripts and which one. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
The way I've always done it, and I think more and more people do it now, is they do the front end totally separate outside of Orchard, and just basically include a top level or a combined script at the document or the layout sort of level.
That's fine. You can still do that, but we also have usages where. On the backend, for instance, it's very important because every widget, every module, every page is different and requires different scripts.
Yeah,
so
cool.
We need that, definitely. The usual web core feature on the web apps, special ratios under blogs CMS. Yes, because it's a political decision to decide what products are on the main page. There is not enough space for everything, like there is no Drupal, there is no DNN, there is no whatever on UpCommerce and so on. So it's politically decided every year. Based on usage. Okay, based on usage, let's see. So Umbraco and DNN have much more users than Orchard and WordPress, so they will drive more installs, setups than Orchard. I assume that will be the reason. And I'm also working on a feature you saw in the branches, which is placement. It works, and this is what the placement looks like now. It should also be much faster because I simplified it. Where is placement? I call it placement JSON. So this is the old file. Example. Oh no, this is not the old file. The old file is there. This you can, this is for talking. Place, match, so place to define a place, okay, and you could have semicolons, alternates, and weird things inside. You can also say filter match on display type or whatever, and say another place. So the same thing could be in different place statements with different display type. I was also suggesting maybe we could have some scripting, like JavaScript or C#, if display type equals that, place, blah, blah, blah. But it's hard to read, and it might scare some designers, because placement is scary. My final solution, but can be talked about, is much simpler. It's just a JSON document with first node is the name of the shape you want to place. So you always find it very easily. It's the first node. Name of the shape you want to place, and then the rules, which can be either one or an array of rules. Rule being constraint, display type edit, then place there, display type detail, then place there, or we can also have display type, we could have something like has part, like body, okay, something like that. All the filters that we had, stereotype or type widget, Okay, something like this. And you can define the place, and you could define the alternates also, like alternates A, B. You can define the wrappers, and you can define also the shape type if you want to redefine the shape type. So exactly like in the XML file, but organized in simple placement nodes, where we mix the filters and the result based on what the property means. And this can have a JSON schema with documentation, so that when you edit that, you will see what it means. Yep. So this thing works. Questions, comments?
Yeah, the issue I see is that currently with the XML format, we have the flexibility of having multiple rules, or having
You can.
one rule around multiple placement declarations.
Well, here, all the rules for parse content publish needs to be there in this file, but you can have this thing in other files.
That's not what I meant, but for example, if you want to place multiple shapes for a content item in detail display type, then you wrap the multiple place and declarations into a mesh.
Yeah, that's more verbose. I agree in this case.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's more verbose, but it's also more flexible because you don't have to repeat the rules if you place multiple shapes.
Oh, like this?
Yes. Now you have to repeat each of the rules for each of the shapes.
Yeah, yes, that's what I meant. It's more verbose. Yes, I understand. And that's why I also thought about having this by code like this, because you don't have to repeat, and it's even better. You can do whatever you want. But
well, we could probably also just create an I placement provider or something that you could implement and do the whole thing from code. And if you want to have that, you could use one of the default implementations that would also parse placement.json.
Well, it's there. It's a shape table provider. You can, anything can.
Yeah, it's not that easy to use.
But also, well, we can also have different effects, as you said. There could be like a placement.json. There could be a placement.js. There could be a placement.info, and we can mix everything. And also something which might solve everything is that these are just intended for themes and small updates, because now we can define the placement directly in the drivers. This is what I did before. Let me show you. This is what most people will do for the defaults. You see, when you define the shape, you say location for which display type and for which and where. And you can call it multiple times. Location on detail will be there, and so on. Okay, or summary admin and on, I don't know, detail admin, for instance. I don't know, something like that. When you develop to define you won't need a placement.json as always like we did before. Even for edit, you see, when you add a shape for edition, now you can say location that. But we can talk about it again next week with more time if we want, okay?
All right.
Good, it's so over the time. If you have questions, keep them for later, and I'll add them to the note for next week. Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday for the triage.